Here's what's coming up on today's show.
But we ended up hitting a crash back in 2000, and it lasted about, I think, a little over 2 years before it finally came back. But I was certainly in the business for that one. It wasn't a fun time, but it did happen.
Hello, this is Mark Silverman, managing member and founder of Silverman & Associates, and I'm also a certified financial planner professional. I want to welcome you to the Saving with Silverman podcast. I'm glad you're here. Each week, we'll discuss different financial planning topics because making smarter choices about your money impacts the quality of your life.
Did you see this crazy story about this fox in England who ended up in New York? A sly fox decided to become a stowaway on a cargo ship full of automobiles traveling from England to New York. It's not exactly clear how this 11-pound red fox slipped onto the cargo ship leaving Southampton, England, but he's now settling in at his new home in the Bronx Zoo, which is kind of a crazy story.
It's interesting. No, I did not hear that, but it's an interesting story.
You know, we try to dig up these crazy things. Sometimes they make financial sense, and other times they don't have anything to do with anything, really, but it's just kind of fun to talk about some of those things. Hey, Black Swan events. Mm-hmm. What in the world are Black Swan events? You may be asking out there, what exactly is a Black Swan event, Mark?
Well, they're typically things that happen, not too often, but they can happen, and they usually aren't a good thing.
Yeah.
So there's something that has to do with the markets or the economy or something like that when they kind of intertwined.
Some kind of a financial crisis.
Financial crisis is a Black Swan event, kind of bad things that happen all at the same time.
All right.
And they're not too common, and very few people can actually determine when they're going to happen.
Yeah.
As far as being that severe. But we certainly have had some of them.
We'll talk about some of those in just a moment here. But, we've seen some rough weeks in the market recently, but nothing at all like some of the major downturns that we've seen in the course of time. Let's review some of the absolute worst days, weeks and years in market history. What caused them and what did we learn? First of all, there was Black Tuesday way back in 1929. Tell us about that one and how it played out and what we might have learned from that.
Well, the Dow, which was what we used to kind of gauge the markets back then, I don't think the S&P was even tracked back then, fell something like 12%. And it took a long time to come back. That was the Great Depression, certainly before my time and certainly before your time, Ron.
Sure.
So there's still people out there that have lived through that. I wasn't one of them. But that was a severe one, and, that's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime type of thing.
Well, I think the interesting thing is if you know somebody who is old enough to have lived through the Great Depression, you know that affected the way they looked at money.
They typically live within their means and aren't using a lot of credit and debt and all that sort of thing, which certainly nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that makes sense. There was a little closer to home here. Back on April 14th, 2000, there was the dot-com crash. Talk about that one, if you would.
That I do remember. I was actually 5 years into the business at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And that was, the internet was the big thing, and everybody was buying all these .com stocks and things like that, and returns were way overinflated. But we ended up hitting a crash back in 2000, and it lasted about, I think, a little over 2 years before it finally came back. Yeah. But I was certainly in the business for that one. It wasn't a fun time, but it did happen.
Yeah, it took until 2002 until that was kind of over.
Yeah.
And also, kind of intersecting that time, September 17th, 2001. And what was that all about, Mark?
Yeah, that was 9/11. And obviously they halted the markets at that point, too. Mm-hmm. That was, I think, one of the biggest declines that we've had in trading, and they actually halted the markets because we didn't know what was happening. I remember where I was watching it and that sort of thing and wondering what was going on.
Me too.
I think a lot of people remember that, but and that was a bad time too. But hopefully we never experience that again.
I was on the radio and we had a TV monitor in the studio, and it was on. I think it was CNN, but we saw those crashes, and I thought, wow. When I saw the first one hit the first tower, I thought, oh man, what a horrible accident.
Right.
And then when the second one came along, we all knew what it was about.
Something was going on. Yep.
Yeah, something really bad. Then a few years after that, there was the 2008 financial crisis. Now, can you explain that one and the impact
and I
it
think
had?
and that was the great financial crisis. And I don't think it's as severe in my opinion as the Great Depression, but I think it's kind of the Great Depression of our generation. We had I think in September we had the biggest single day decline in the market. A couple companies went out, Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers. We had a housing crisis, which pretty much is what started this whole thing. And then we had another bad day like a month later, and the stock market was down for. I was obviously still in the business. We were down for about 18 months, I think, from bottom to top. Mm-hmm. So by the time it came back, so it was an 18-month. It was tough, but that was, in my opinion, was so far probably the biggest correction I've seen since I've been alive and been in the business.
Yeah, it was a terrible time, that's for sure. And then what comes next is in March of 2020, from mid-February to mid-March of 2020, the early days of the pandemic, we had another Black Swan event.
Yeah, and that was, obviously from the pandemic, and but the market recovered so fast. You know, if anybody got out thinking that they were going to get out and come back in, they would have missed it, which is a big mistake. So we kept our clients invested, and the market recovered very quickly.
So many people were just afraid.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was going to happen.
And that's the problem with people that are doing it themselves. They kind of react on emotion and don't have somebody there to talk them off a cliff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we kind of earn our keep, is through times like that where we're keeping people from making big mistakes with their money, and they stayed invested.
I'm sure you experienced a lot of that during the early days of the pandemic, where people wanted to jump.
We had calls. Yeah, we had calls from some people,
Yeah.
and we walked them through it, and they were thankful they didn't do anything. So that's kind of what we're here for.
Yeah. And the last Black Swan event I wanted to talk about is the next one, whatever and whenever that might be.
Yeah,
we just don't know.
We're due for correction. I mean, this year's been a little bit of a challenge, but there's some things been going on with, the war, price of oil, and those sorts of things going on. And I still think, I think this war is going to get over sooner rather than later. I'm pretty optimistic about it, and I think once that happens, I think this market's going to rebound pretty significantly. We've kind of seen that just from talking about a ceasefire and that sort of thing. So I think I think we're going to be up for the year. Don't quote me on that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're up for the year.
I sure hope you're right.
The markets could turn around pretty quickly. So you just got to make sure you're invested in the right things, so when it does recover, you benefit from it.
We just wanted to mention some of those Black Swan events today, and to emphasize the fact that whatever happens, if there's a market crash or whatever the case may be, if you have a good plan, then you're okay. You're not going to go bankrupt because you've done good planning. You have a financial advisor who has helped you. His name is Mark Silverman, if you'd like to get in touch. And Mark, I'm going to put your number out there right now, and hopefully folks will call in. In fact, you can call in during the show and just leave a message, if you would. 520-333-7601. Call or text 520-333-7601. Call or text, no cost, no obligation. You can find out about the True Wealth Financial Life Planning process. And this conversation you're going to have totally complimentary, and you want to go away after that, hey, that's cool too. You might be able to get some answers to some of your questions in just that initial conversation. And again, call or text 520-333-7601. You've been listening to the Saving with Silverman podcast. If you have any questions at all about your financial situation, please give Mark Silverman a call. Again, his number is 520-333-7601. Or go online to savingwithsilverman.com. For Mark Silverman, I'm Ron Stutz. We'll see you next time on the Saving with Silverman podcast.
The Saving with Silverman podcast is brought to you by Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, based in Tucson, Arizona. The show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show on your favorite app today and never miss an episode. Just search for Saving with Silverman to find us, or visit savingwithsilverman.com to listen to past episodes. To contact Mark and to learn more about how to make smarter decisions, with your money.
Did you know that Mark Silverman also has a radio show? Tune in to Saving with Silverman Saturdays and Sundays at 3 p.m. on AM 790 KNST.
All matters discussed on this show are for informational purposes only. Opinions expressed are solely those of Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC and staff. All topics covered are believed to be from reliable sources. However, Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC makes no representation as to its accuracy or completeness. This show shall in no way be construed as a solicitation to sell securities or investment advisory services to residents of any state other than Arizona or where otherwise permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Fee-based financial planning and investment advisory services offered through Silverman & Associates Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor in the state of Arizona. Insurance products and services are offered through Silverman & Associates, an affiliated company.